You're 42 years old, standing in the middle of your dream art gallery on a busy Saturday afternoon in Chicago, helping a young couple pick out a massive abstract piece for their new loft, when your phone buzzes with a text from your husband of 15 years. "I'm done with this life. Heading to Europe with Celeste tomorrow. Took what I deserve from the accounts. Don't try to stop me. You'll be fine with your little paintings." Your heart stops, but you don't flinch. You just smile at the couple, wrap up the sale, and think to yourself, good luck. Because what he doesn't know is that you've been preparing for this moment for months, and the real storm is just about to hit him. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Or if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because today's real-life story is the kind that will have you glued to your screen for the next hour, feeling every emotion, shedding a few tears, and walking away inspired to protect what's yours and build something unbreakable. This is the story of Elena Vasquez, a woman who turned betrayal into her greatest triumph. And trust me, by the end, you'll see why so many of you in the comments say these stories change how you look at your own life. Let's dive in. Elena was born and raised in a tight-knit Mexican-American family in the Pilsen neighborhood of Chicago, where art wasn't just a hobby, it was survival. Her abuela had been a folk artist back in Mexico, painting vibrant murals on whatever walls she could find, and Elena grew up with paint under her fingernails from the time she was 5. School wasn't her thing. Numbers and rules bored her, but give her a canvas and some colors, and she could lose hours creating worlds that made people feel something deep inside. By 22, she was hustling at local flea markets, selling small watercolors and sketches from a folding table under a beat-up umbrella. It wasn't glamorous. Rainy days meant soaked paintings, slow weekends meant barely enough for rent, but Elena had fire in her. She saved every penny, took night classes at the Art Institute on scholarships she fought tooth and nail for, and dreamed of owning a real gallery where emerging artists like her could shine without the big downtown sharks taking everything. That's when she met Marcus Reed. He was 30, charming as hell, with that Midwestern boy-next-door smile and a job as an art curator for a mid-tier museum downtown. They met at one of her pop-up shows in 2008, right before the economy crashed. He bought her favorite piece, a bold oil painting of a woman rising from ashes, and told her, "This speaks to me. You're going to be huge one day." Elena fell hard. Marcus had connections, knew the right people, and for the first time, someone believed in her dream as much as she did. They got married 2 years later in a small ceremony at Garfield Park Conservatory, surrounded by flowers and family. Marcus helped her navigate the business side, finding a tiny space in Wicker Park for her first gallery, called Vasquez Visions. It started small. White walls, track lighting she installed herself, and a grand opening with cheap wine and 30 guests. But Elena's eye for talent was unmatched. She scouted unknown artists from street fairs, colleges, even Instagram back when it was new. Her gallery became known for discovering gems, painters, sculptors, photographers who went on to exhibit in New York and LA. Revenue grew slowly at first, then exploded during the pandemic when people craved real art for their home offices. Corporate clients started buying for lobbies, weddings wanted custom installations, and suddenly Vasquez Visions was pulling in 7 figures a year. Elena built a team, assistants, framers, a marketing whiz kid. She expanded to a second location in Logan Square, then a third in the West Loop. It was her empire, built brushstroke by brushstroke. And Marcus, he quit the museum job early on, saying he wanted to support her full-time. He handled some of the admin, schmoozed clients at openings, but mostly he enjoyed the lifestyle. Fancy dinners at Alinea, vacations to Miami Art Basel, a sleek condo in River North that Elena paid for. She didn't mind. Marriage was partnership, right? But over the years, cracks started showing. Marcus hit 40 and panicked. He hit the gym obsessively, swapped his casual button-downs for slim-fit suits, got hair plugs nobody asked for, and started name-dropping younger artists like he was still in the scene. His phone became glued to his hand, password protected. He'd come home late from networking events, smelling like expensive perfume that wasn't Elena's. And then there was Celeste. Elena first saw her at a gallery opening last winter, a 23-year-old emerging conceptual artist with pink hair, a nose ring, and installations made of recycled plastic that screamed Instagram bait. Celeste was all energy, flitting around in a sheer dress that left little to the imagination, laughing too loud at Marcus's jokes. Elena noticed how Marcus's eyes lingered, how he promoted Celeste's work aggressively on the gallery socials. "She's the future," he'd say, fresh, bold, unafraid. Elena brushed it off at first. Artists were eccentric. Marcus was passionate about talent. But then the changes accelerated. Marcus started quoting self-help gurus about reinventing yourself, talking about how stagnation kills the soul. Their intimate life dried up. He claimed stress, but Elena found Viagra in his drawer. The joint account started dipping unusually. Big charges for hotels in Miami, flights to Berlin for art fairs he went to alone. Elena wasn't stupid. She'd built a business from nothing. She knew how to read signs. 6 months ago, quietly, without a word to anyone, she consulted a lawyer friend from college, Sophia, who specialized in high-net-worth divorces. "Protect yourself," Sophia said. "Separate what you can." Elena did. She refinanced the gallery properties solely in her LLC's name, something she'd been smart enough to set up from day one. All artist contracts, trademarks for Vasquez Visions, the website domain, everything was hers alone. She opened private accounts, slowly transferred her personal savings and business profits there, leaving just enough in the joint one to keep things looking normal. She started screenshotting suspicious texts, saving bank statements, even noting Celeste's gushing posts tagging Marcus. Elena didn't confront him. She waited, arranged flowers in her home garden to calm her nerves, walked their rescue dog Luna through Millennium Park, and planned. Because deep down, she knew this midlife crisis wasn't going to fix itself. The text came on that Saturday in April, cherry blossoms blooming outside the West Loop Gallery. "Marcus, I'm done. Took what I deserve." He attached a selfie from O'Hare Airport with Celeste, both grinning, champagne flutes in hand. Caption in his follow-up, "New chapter in Paris. The City of Light deserves real art. Your little local gallery will keep you busy, old girl. LOL." Old girl? At 42, Elena was fitter than ever from yoga, her dark curls streaked with silver that made her look distinguished, not old. The gallery wasn't little, it was valued at over $5 million, with exclusive deals that Marcus had no legal claim to. But his arrogance blinded him. Elena's hands shook as she read it, but only for a second. A client walked in, an older woman looking for a gift, and Elena switched to professional mode, recommending a stunning sculpture from a local Latina artist. Sale closed, $8,000 commission. As the door chimed shut, Elena texted back one thing: safe travels. Then she called Sophia. "It's time." Sophia laughed. "Papers are ready. Serve him in Paris?" "No," Elena said calmly. "Let him spend it all first. I want to see how far his fantasy goes." The messages flooded in that night. Marcus, emboldened by altitude or alcohol, "You'll miss me when you're alone in that big condo. At least you have your paints to keep you company." Another, "Celeste gets me. She's inspiration incarnate. You stopped inspiring years ago." Screenshot. Folder labeled Evidence. Elena poured herself a glass of Malbec from a bottle a client gifted, sat on the balcony overlooking the city lights, and let the tears come. Not for him, but for the years she'd invested in someone who never truly saw her strength. Luna curled up at her feet, whining softly. Animals sense pain, don't they? Marcus had never liked Luna, complaining about dog hair on his suits. Another red flag she'd ignored. Psychologically, Elena knew what this was. Classic midlife crisis mixed with narcissism. Marcus needed validation from youth to feel relevant, projecting his insecurities onto her, calling her work little to diminish what he couldn't control. But Elena had read the books, talked to therapists quietly. She understood projection, gaslighting attempts. She wouldn't let it break her. Instead, she journaled, "What do I want next? More galleries, a foundation for underrepresented artists, travel alone to Mexico to reconnect with roots." The next day, Celeste started posting stories from first class, "Off to conquer Europe with my muse, #ArtLife, new beginnings," photos of them at the Louvre already. Wait, no, that was stock, but soon real ones, Eiffel Tower kisses, hotel suites with rose petals. Elena saved every one. public admission of affair, funded by marital assets. Gold for court. Meanwhile, Marcus bragged, generous of you to fund our trip with the joint card. Consider it alimony in advance, LOL. Elena smiled grimly, called the bank, fraud alert, unauthorized charges, flights, hotels in Paris, luxury shopping. The rep confirmed, charges reversed, card canceled, Marcus flagged. By the time they landed in Paris, reality bit. Texts turned frantic. What the hell, Elena? Our hotel canceled. Cards declined. She didn't reply. Turned phone to do not disturb, opened the gallery as usual, Sunday brunch crowd, brisk sales. Life moved on. Monday, Sophia filed. Emergency motion to freeze assets, citing dissipation. Marcus got served at a budget Airbnb they downgraded to. Process server found them arguing over metro tickets. Back in Chicago, word spread fast in the tight art community. Mutual friends texted Elena support. Heard about Marcus, you okay? She replied gracefully, focused on work. A big corporate client signed for a full office installation. $150K deal. Blooming, even in pain. The first hearing was in Cook County Court 2 weeks later. Elena walked in poised, black suit tailored perfectly, hair in a sleek bun, minimal makeup highlighting her warm brown eyes. Sophia beside her, carrying a binder thick as a phone book. Marcus showed up disheveled, skinny jeans that no longer fit his stress-eating belly, a garish silk shirt Celeste probably picked, eyes bloodshot from cheap wine. Celeste waited outside, scrolling TikTok in a beret that screamed tourist. The judge, a no-nonsense black woman in her 50s, scanned the filings. Sophia presented. Deeds showing gallery's pre-marriage growth but solely owned. Inheritance from abuela funneled into business separately. Screenshots of texts admitting theft. Social posts proving affair and spending. My client seeks freeze on disputed assets and compensation for dissipated funds. Marcus's lawyer, a cheap hire who looked overwhelmed, stammered, "This is spite. The business grew during marriage. My client contributed." Sophia fired back, "Contributed? Records show no salary, no investment. He was a volunteer at best. State law protects premarital and separate property." Judge to Marcus, "You admit withdrawing $120,000 for personal trip?" He squirmed. "It was joint. I needed space." Space funded by fraud? Judge ruled swift. Freeze. Repay within 30 days or liens. Marcus stormed out, muttering threats. Celeste whined in hallway, "But you promised galleries in Paris." He snapped, "She tricked me." Elena overheard, walking past head high. No words needed. Psychologically, this was the unraveling. Narcissists crumble when supply cuts off. Marcus had built identity on Elena's success. Without it, he was nothing. Divorce finalized 3 months later. Elena kept everything. Galleries, condo, bought with business profits, savings. Marcus got his car, leased in his name, now repossessed, clothes and debt from failed repayments. Judge ordered garnishment. He moved back to suburban mom in Naperville, tail between legs. Celeste ghosted weeks in. Once Airbnb turned to hostels, Muse found new one. Rumors, Marcus drinking heavily, applying for barista jobs, therapy he couldn't afford. His mom called Elena once. "He's lost. Didn't raise him this way." Elena listened kindly. "He chose this. Wish him healing." Hung up, no bitterness. Forgiveness for self, not him. Years passed. Vasquez Visions exploded. 5 locations now, online sales booming, partnerships with major museums. Elena launched Foundation, scholarships for young artists from underserved communities, mentorship programs. She traveled solo to Oaxaca, painted murals with locals, reconnected with her heritage. Dated sparingly, a sculptor here, a writer there, but focused on self. Luna got a puppy sibling. At the grand opening of Flagship in Fulton Market, rooftop with city views, live jazz, and champagne flowing, old friend spotted Celeste in the crowd. Older now, professional attire, no pink hair. Approached Elena hesitantly. "I was wrong, thought he was everything. Learned hard way, men like that use you up. Sorry for my part." Elena nodded. "We all grow. Good luck." Turned to next guest. No grudge. lesson learned. In office, framed screenshot Marcus's little paintings text. Plaque below, the best revenge is thriving beyond my imagination. Elena's reflection in the window, strong, radiant, free. She bloomed where he tried to wilt her. And you know what the most powerful part of Elena's story is? It's not just that she won in court or that her galleries are now all over the country. It's that she never let his betrayal define her worth. She turned the pain into fuel, the anger into strategy, and the loneliness into the deepest self-love she's ever known. If you're watching this and you're going through something similar, maybe not an art gallery, maybe it's your small business, your home, your savings, or just your heart, know this: you are allowed to protect yourself fiercely without becoming bitter. You are allowed to plan quietly, to gather your evidence, to wait for the right moment, and then to rise so high that the people who tried to dim you can't even reach your light anymore. Let's keep going with the rest of Elena's journey, because the years after the divorce, that's where the real magic happened, the kind that makes you want to stand up and cheer. After the final court date, Elena didn't celebrate with a big party or splashy vacation. She went home to the River North condo, poured herself a cup of chamomile tea, put on some Celia Cruz because her abuela always said salsa heals everything, and sat on the floor with Luna, crying the kind of tears that come after holding your breath for too long. Relief tears, freedom tears. "It's really over," she whispered to the dog, who licked her face like she understood every word. The next morning, she woke up early, made café de olla the way her mom taught her, cinnamon, piloncillo, strong and sweet, and opened her laptop. First thing, she changed every password Marcus ever knew: bank accounts, gallery emails, even the Netflix profile. Then she called Sophia for coffee. "I feel light," Elena said over lattes at a little spot in Pilsen. "Like I was carrying a backpack full of rocks for 15 years and someone finally cut the straps." Sophia smiled. "That's trauma leaving the body, amiga. Now the real fun begins. What do you want to build that is 100% yours, no compromises?" That question lit something inside Elena. For years, she'd held back certain dreams because Marcus called them too risky or not commercial enough, like opening a nonprofit arm of the gallery, or showcasing more street artists and muralists from the neighborhoods, or creating paid apprenticeships for kids who grew up like she did, talented but broke, no connections. So that's exactly what she did. Within 6 months, she launched the Vasquez Visions Foundation with seed money from a portion of the repaid, dissipated funds the judge forced Marcus to return through wage garnishment. The foundation offered full scholarships, studio space, materials, mentorship, even stipends, so young artists didn't have to work 3 jobs to survive. The first cohort had 12 students, half Latinx, half Black, all from Chicago public schools. Elena taught the opening workshop herself, showing them how to stretch their own canvases to save money, just like she learned as a kid. One of them, a 17-year-old girl named Marisol with a sketchbook full of surreal portraits, told Elena after class, "I thought art was only for rich people until today." Elena had to step into the supply closet to cry happy tears. Word spread fast in the art world. Collectors who respected Elena's integrity started donating. Major brands wanted to sponsor. By year 2, the foundation had placed graduates in residencies across the country, and 2 had already sold out their first solo shows, at Vasquez Visions, of course. Meanwhile, the galleries themselves kept growing. Elena opened location number 4 in Hyde Park, near the University of Chicago, focusing on African diaspora artists, and number 5 in Milwaukee, because the Midwest needed more spaces that felt welcoming to everyone. She hired a diverse team, curators, installers, marketers, who shared her values. Staff meetings started with everyone sharing one win from the week, big or small, because Elena believed celebration keeps creativity flowing. She started dating again, slowly. First, a kind photographer from Mexico City who made her laugh until her stomach hurt, then a quiet sculptor from Detroit who understood long studio hours. Nothing stuck long-term, and that was okay. For the first time in her adult life, Elena wasn't looking for someone to complete her. She was already whole. She took herself on solo trips, Oaxaca to study traditional weaving, New York to see Broadway alone and eat pizza at 2 a.m., even Paris, walking the same streets Marcus and Celeste once posted about, but this time with a sketchbook in hand, drawing whatever moved her, no filter, no audience needed. And yes, every once in a while she'd hear updates about Marcus through the art grapevine. He tried to start a small consulting business helping artists build their brand, but without real connections or credibility, it flopped fast. He took a job managing a chain framing store in the suburbs. Ironic, Elena thought, since he used to mock framers as blue-collar. His mom confided once over coffee, they stayed cordial for the sake of old family ties, that he was in therapy, finally facing the narcissism and insecurity that drove him to blow up his life. He cries sometimes, she said, says he realizes now he was jealous of you all along, that he couldn't handle being in your shadow. Elena nodded, no satisfaction, just quiet acceptance. We all have our journeys, she replied. I hope he finds peace. Celeste, she rebranded herself as a digital curator on OnlyFans and TikTok, posting aesthetic videos and luxury rentals she clearly couldn't afford long-term. The pink hair was gone, replaced by a sleek bob, and her feed was full of quotes about toxic relationships and choosing yourself. Elena saw it once, scrolled past, and felt nothing. Not even pity, just the calm of someone who knows the universe balances things in its own time. The pinnacle came 5 years after the divorce, on a crisp fall evening in Chicago when the leaves were turning gold and red like one of Elena's favorite palettes. Vasquez Vision's flagship reopening after a massive renovation. Rooftop garden with sculptures, interactive digital walls, a cafe serving Mexican hot chocolate and conchas, and the crown jewel, a permanent exhibition hall dedicated to the foundation's alumni. Over 500 people showed up. Collectors, artists, press, city officials, even the mayor. Live mariachi mixed with a DJ spinning Bad Bunny remixes. Champagne flowed, laughter echoed, and Elena stood on a small stage in a deep emerald dress that made her glow against the city skyline. She didn't give a long speech, just this. 15 years ago, I started with one folding table and a dream bigger than fear. 10 years ago, someone I loved tried to tell me that dream was small. Tonight, look around. This is what happens when you refuse to shrink. This space belongs to every kid who ever felt art wasn't for them, to every woman who was told her success made her less lovable, to every one of you who kept going when life tried to break you. Thank you for believing in beauty, in justice, in second chances. Now, let's celebrate. The crowd erupted. Marisol, now 22 and fresh off her first New York show, handed Elena a bouquet of sunflowers, Elena's abuela's favorite. Cameras flashed. Someone started chanting "Si se puede," and everyone joined in. Later, as the party wound down, Elena slipped away to the rooftop alone for a moment. Luna's successor, a goofy rescue mutt named Frida, was at home, but Elena could almost feel her abuela's presence in the wind. She pulled out her phone, opened that old screenshot folder one last time, the one with Marcus's cruel texts, and hit delete all. No more evidence needed. The proof was in the lights of the city below, in the laughter still floating up from inside, in the young artists dancing like tomorrow was promised. She whispered to the night sky, "We did it, Abuela. We really did it." And somewhere across the suburbs, Marcus saw the event on social media, because of course mutual friends posted, and for the first time he didn't feel anger or envy, just a quiet, painful acceptance that he lost the best thing he ever had because he couldn't see her clearly. He closed the app, turned off his phone, and for once didn't reach for a drink. Maybe tomorrow he'd call his therapist. Maybe. Back on the rooftop, Elena raised her glass of champagne to the stars. One last private toast. "To blooming anyway," she said softly. "To building bigger than the betrayal. To knowing your worth isn't up for debate." She drank, smiled, and went back inside to dance with the people who chose her, who saw her, who grew with her. And that, my friends, is how you turn a broken heart into an unbreakable legacy. If this story moved you, if it made you think about your own dreams, your own boundaries, the people in your life who truly deserve your energy, do me a huge favor right now. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me which part hit you hardest, and most importantly, subscribe and turn on notifications because I drop these real-life empowerment stories every week, and you do not want to miss the next one. Some of you have shared in the comments how these videos gave you the courage to leave toxic situations, to start that business, to finally put yourself first. Your stories inspire me to keep going, so thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. Protect your peace, build your empire, and never, ever let anyone make you feel small. I'll see you in the next one. With so much love and respect, stay strong, Chicago, and beyond. And before we wrap this up completely, I want to take you even deeper into the quiet moments that nobody posts on Instagram, the ones that really shaped Elena into the woman she is, because this isn't just a revenge story or a success story, it's a healing story, a story about what happens when you choose yourself over and over again until it becomes your superpower. A lot of you have asked in the comments on previous videos, how do you actually move on after someone betrays you that deeply? How do you trust again? How do you not become cold? So let's talk about that, because Elena's journey didn't end at the rooftop party. It kept unfolding in the most beautiful human ways. About a year after that grand opening, Elena was invited to speak at a women's entrepreneurship conference in Miami. Ironic, right? The same city where Marcus once thought he'd start his new life. She almost said no because old memories flickered. But then she thought, why let his ghost rent space in my future? So she went. She wore a red power suit, spoke to a room of 500 women about building businesses that outlive heartbreak, about protecting your assets before you ever need to, about spotting the slow erosion of respect in a relationship and having the courage to act. Backstage afterward, a young woman in her 20s approached her with tears in her eyes. I left my husband last month. He was doing the same thing, midlife crisis, younger girlfriend, draining accounts. Your story gave me the push to hire a lawyer and fight for my bakery. Elena hugged her, felt that familiar ache in her chest, and realized this is the ripple. Her pain had turned into someone else's lifeline. From that day on, Elena started hosting free monthly workshops at the flagship gallery, not just art technique, but life technique. Topics like financial independence as self-love, spotting narcissistic patterns early, rebuilding trust after betrayal. She brought in therapists, financial advisors, divorce attorneys like Sophia, even a somatic healer who taught breathing exercises for when anxiety hits at 3 a.m. Hundreds of women showed up, some driving from Indiana, Wisconsin, even flying in from Texas. They sat in circles on the gallery floor surrounded by million-dollar art, sharing stories that would break your heart, then mend it again. Elena never charged a dime. She funded it all through a percentage of gallery sales, calling it her pay-it-forward tax. And in those circles, Elena healed too, because every time someone said, "I thought I was alone," Elena remembered she never really was. On a personal level, love found its way back in the most unexpected way. 2 years after the conference, at one of her foundation's alumni shows, she met Javier, a 45-year-old architect from Puerto Rico who'd moved to Chicago to design sustainable community centers. He wasn't in the art world, he just loved beauty and showed up to support a friend exhibiting. They started talking over hors d'oeuvres about light and space and how buildings can hold emotion the same way paintings do. He didn't know who she was at first. No idea about the galleries, the divorce, the viral story that some blogs had picked up. He just saw Elena, warm, funny, passionate, with paint flecks still on her jeans from helping hang the show. Their first date was tamales from a truck in Pilsen and a long walk talking about family, how his dad left when he was 10, how her abuela raised her on resilience in cafecito. No games, no performance, just real. They took it slow. Therapy on both sides first, boundaries discussed openly, finances always separate because Elena knew her peace was non-negotiable. Javier respected that, never pushed. He became the kind of partner who celebrated her wins louder than his own, who hung her foundation kids' art in his office, who learned to make café de olla just right on Sunday mornings. They got engaged last year under the cherry blossoms in Humboldt Park. Simple ring,
Luna's successor Frida as witness. The wedding is planned for next spring at the gallery rooftop, small, family-only, mariachi and salsa until dawn. And Marcus? We don't hear much anymore, but last update through a mutual friend, he's sober now, working as a framer again, but at a custom shop where he actually enjoys the craft, dating someone age-appropriate who's a teacher, going to weekly therapy. He sent Elena a letter once, handwritten, no return address requested. In it, he apologized fully, no excuses, owned the jealousy, the cruelty, the theft, said watching her foundation grow from afar showed him what real legacy looks like. Elena read it once, cried in the shower so Javier wouldn't see, then burned it in a little ceramic bowl on the balcony, and ofrenda-style release, letting the smoke carry away the last residue of pain. She never wrote back. Some closures don't need dialogue. Today, at 49, Elena Vasquez is exactly where she was always meant to be, surrounded by color, by growth, by people who choose her daily. The galleries are now 7 strong, with plans for one in Mexico City next year, a full-circle homage to her abuela. The foundation has funded over 200 young artists, many now teaching the next generation. Her relationship with Javier is steady, joyful, built on mutual admiration instead of one person's shine dimming the other. And every year on the anniversary of that awful text message, Elena does something just for herself. Buys a new set of oils, takes a solo drive up to Lake Michigan, or simply sits in the quiet gallery after closing and paints something wild and free with no intention of selling it. She calls it her freedom ritual. So, if you're watching this and you're in the thick of it, if you're screenshotting texts, meeting with lawyers, crying in your car, wondering if you'll ever feel whole again, please hear this. Elena didn't start strong. She started scared, hurt, doubting herself. But she chose one brave action, then another, then another. Protect your assets, gather your people, feel the feelings fully, build something that can't be taken, heal without hurry, love when you're ready, not when you're lonely. And most of all, never ever let someone's small view of you become your reality. You are the artist of your own life. Paint it bold, paint it beautiful, paint it yours. Thank you for staying with me through this entire story. If it touched you, if it gave you hope, if it made you think, I can do this too, then my job here is done. Drop your thoughts below. What resonated most? Have you had a bloom anyway moment? Share it. Your words lift someone else today. Like this video so more people find it, share it with that friend who needs it right now, and if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell because next week I'm bringing you another real-life story that's just as powerful. This one about a single mom who turned a side hustle into a 9-figure exit after everyone told her it was impossible. You are worthy of every good thing coming your way. Protect your heart, build your dreams, and keep blooming no matter what. And one more thing before I let you go, because so many of you have been messaging me privately saying, I needed this story right now. Thank you. I want to give you the practical side, the part that Elena wishes someone had handed her on a silver platter when the red flags were waving, but she was still making excuses. This is the What I Learned the Hard Way So You Don't Have To section, straight from Elena's own words in an interview she did with a Chicago arts podcast last year. She said, if I can save even one woman from going through the financial devastation I almost faced, then every tear was worth it. So listen close, take notes, screenshot this if you need to. Here are the exact steps Elena took to protect herself and her empire, and the lessons she lives by now. First, separate your business early and keep it separate. From the moment Vasquez Visions made real money, Elena made sure the LLC was in her name only. All contracts signed by her, all taxes filed under her social. Marcus never had signing authority, never co-owned the trademark, never got added to the business bank accounts. She says now, love doesn't mean shared ownership. Partnership in life doesn't have to mean partnership in business. If your gut says, keep it separate, listen. Second, monitor the joint stuff like a hawk. Once a month, without fail, Elena logged into the joint checking and savings, even when things seemed fine. She spotted the slow drip of unusual charges early, the gym memberships he didn't use, the business dinners that were really dates, the cash withdrawals. she started moving her personal earnings to a new account in only her name at a different bank, little by little so it didn't raise alarms. Lesson: if access feels secretive on their end, create safety on yours. Third, document everything. Those screenshots weren't just for court, they were for her own sanity. Seeing his words in black and white stopped the gaslighting in her head, the maybe I'm overreacting voice. She kept a private folder with dates, amounts, messages, even photos of hotel receipts he left in his jacket. Sophia, her lawyer, said later that folder shaved months off the case because it was airtight. Fourth, build your own credit and assets in your own name, only. Elena had her own credit cards, her own retirement accounts, the condo titled solely to her LLC once the business could buy it. When Marcus tried to claim half the condo, the deed laughed in his face. Lesson: inheritance, gifts, premarital growth, keep the paper trail clean. Fifth, have a just-in-case team before you need it. Elena already knew Sophia from college, had a therapist on speed dial from earlier rough patches, and a financial advisor she'd worked with for years. When the bomb dropped, she wasn't scrambling for help, she was activating a network that already trusted her. And finally, the emotional side. Feel it all, but don't drown in it. Elena journaled every night, walked Luna for hours listening to podcasts about narcissism and betrayal trauma, joined an online support group for entrepreneurial women going through divorce. She allowed the rage, the grief, the fear, but she timed it. 30 minutes to cry, then back to the gallery, back to the artists who needed her steady. She says, healing isn't linear, but momentum is everything. One foot in front of the other, even when your heart is in pieces. Today, she tells every young artist she mentors, especially the women, your talent is yours. Your vision is yours. Your worth is not up for negotiation in any relationship. Build your table so strong that no one can flip it over when they leave. And that's the real legacy. Not just the 7 galleries, not just the foundation changing lives, not even the beautiful love she found with Javier. It's the hundreds, maybe thousands of women who heard her story and decided to protect themselves sooner, love themselves louder, and build something no one can take away. So, if you're sitting there tonight, maybe on your couch with your dog or your kid asleep down the hall, feeling like your world is cracking, know this. Cracks are where the light gets in, and one day you'll be the light for someone else. Elena Vasquez didn't just survive betrayal, she turned it into a movement of empowerment wrapped in color and canvas and community, and you can too. Whatever your gallery is, your business, your art, your family, your peace, guard it fiercely, grow it wildly, and never apologize for taking up space. Thank you for letting me share Elena's story with you over these parts. I've read every single comment you've left, your own stories of rising after betrayal, starting over in your 40s and 50s, protecting your kids and your dreams, and I'm in awe of you. Keep them coming. They remind all of us we're never alone. If this series helped you even a little, do one last thing for me. Share it with one person who needs to hear they're stronger than the pain right now. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. Turn on notifications because next Sunday, I'm bringing you another real-life story that's just as powerful. This one about a single mom who turned a side hustle into a 9-figure exit after everyone told her it was impossible. You are worthy of every good thing coming your way. Protect your heart, build your dreams, and keep blooming no matter what.
And I know some of you are still here, still watching, maybe with a cup of coffee gone cold or tears dried on your cheeks, because stories like Elena's don't just entertain, they hold up a mirror and ask us, what are you going to do with your one beautiful life? So before we truly close this chapter, let's talk about the quiet legacy that nobody sees in the headlines or the grand openings, the one that lives in the private messages Elena gets every single week from women all over the country, sometimes all over the world. One came from a nurse in Texas who used her story to finally leave a husband who'd been siphoning her overtime pay for years. She kept her nursing license, her retirement, her little house, and now she's back in school for her nurse practitioner degree. Another from a teacher in Atlanta who started a side business selling custom lesson plans online after realizing if Elena could build an empire from a folding table, I can build something too.
That side hustle just crossed six figures last year. And then there was the message that made Elena sit down and cry in her office. A young Latina artist from Pilsen, barely 19, who walked into the flagship gallery with a portfolio under her arm and said, "My mom made me watch your story on YouTube when I told her I wanted to drop out of college to paint full-time. She said, 'Mija, look at Miss Vasquez. She started right here in our neighborhood. You don't have to choose between art and security. You can build both.'" That girl is now on full scholarship with the foundation, interning at the gallery, and her first mural just went up on a community center wall in Little Village. Elena stood in front of it for an hour the day it was unveiled, tracing the bold colors with her eyes, seeing echoes of her abuela's style in every stroke. Full Circle doesn't even begin to cover it. These are the moments Elena says keep her going on the hard days, when a shipment of frames comes in damaged, when a big collector backs out last minute, when imposter syndrome whispers that maybe she doesn't deserve all this. She opens her phone, scrolls through the saved screenshots of those messages, and remembers, this was never just about me. It was about every woman who was ever told her dream was little, every girl who grew up thinking success meant shrinking to make someone else comfortable. And that's why, this year, Elena made one more big move. She partnered with a media company to turn her story into a scripted limited series. Think Sweet Bitter meets The Big Short, but with paint instead of food and finance, centered on a Latina artist building an empire in a world that wants to underestimate her. Casting is happening now. They're looking for a lead who can carry both fierce intelligence and deep vulnerability. Elena's only condition, the show has to highlight financial literacy for women, asset protection, recognizing emotional abuse, the real stuff, not just the drama. She wants the credits to roll with resources, hotline numbers, free legal clinics, links to organizations that help women start businesses. Because entertainment is great, but empowerment is everything. Filming starts next summer, and yes, she's executive producing. Of course she is. As for Elena herself, life these days is full in the best way. Mornings with Javier making breakfast while Frida begs for scraps, afternoons in the studio mentoring the next cohort, evenings walking the lakefront path talking about everything and nothing. She still paints for herself. No social media posts, no sales, just pure expression in a private studio above the flagship. Her latest series is called After the Fire, massive canvases of charred earth exploding into impossible blooms, layers of ash and gold leaf and vibrant magenta. Critics who've seen previews are already calling it her most powerful work yet. The first show opens next spring, the same weekend as her wedding. She jokes that it's her way of ensuring the universe knows she's committed to beauty in all forms. And on quiet nights, when the city is asleep and the gallery lights are off, Elena sometimes stands in the main hall alone, surrounded by the art of people she believed in when no one else did. She thinks about that folding table in the flea market rain, about the text that tried to break her, about the woman she became because she refused to break. She whispers the same thing every time. "Thank you for trying to bury me. You had no idea I was a seed." Last month, on a snowy Chicago evening, Elena hosted the annual Vasquez Visions Foundation Gala. Not the glitzy kind with red carpets and sponsors flexing, but the real kind, held inside the flagship gallery with string lights wrapped around sculptures, tables covered in handmade papel picado, and a menu of tamales, mole, and champurrado cooked by the mamas and abuelas of the scholarship kids. Every ticket sold was pay what you can, and every dollar went straight back into the program. The room was packed wall to wall with current students, alumni, mentors, donors, and families who'd never set foot in a gallery before, but now felt like they belonged. Elena didn't take the stage alone this time. She brought up Marisol, the girl who once thought art wasn't for her, and handed her the mic. At 25 now, she's a working muralist with commissions from the city, Nike, even a museum in Mexico City. She looked out at the crowd, voice steady but eyes shining, and said, 5 years ago, I was ready to drop out and work retail forever.
Miss Elena didn't just give me supplies and studio space, she gave me proof that someone who looks like me, talks like me, comes from where I come from, can build something this big. She showed me that betrayal doesn't get the last word. Love does. Community does. Art does. And that's why, this year, Elena made one more big move. She partnered with a media company to turn her story into a scripted limited series. Think Sweet Bitter meets The Big Short, but with paint instead of food and finance. Centered on a Latina artist building an empire in a world that wants to underestimate her. Casting is happening now. They're looking for a lead who can carry both fierce intelligence and deep vulnerability. Elena's only condition? The show has to highlight financial literacy for women, asset protection, recognizing emotional abuse, the real stuff, not just the drama. She wants the credits to roll with resources, hotline numbers, free legal clinics, links to organizations that help women start businesses. Because entertainment is great, but empowerment is everything. Filming starts next summer, and yes, she's executive producing. Of course she is. As for Elena herself, life these days is full in the best way. Mornings with Javier making breakfast while Frida begs for scraps, afternoons in the studio mentoring the next cohort, evenings walking the lakefront path talking about everything and nothing. She still paints for herself. No social media posts, no sales, just pure expression in a private studio above the flagship. Her latest series is called After the Fire, massive canvases of charred earth exploding into impossible blooms, layers of ash and gold leaf and vibrant magenta. Critics who've seen previews are already calling it her most powerful work yet. The first show opens next spring, the same weekend as her wedding. She jokes that it's her way of ensuring the universe knows she's committed to beauty in all forms. And on quiet nights, when the city is asleep and the gallery lights are off, Elena sometimes stands in the main hall alone, surrounded by the art of people she believed in when no one else did. She thinks about that folding table in the flea market rain, about the text that tried to break her, about the woman she became because she refused to break. She whispers the same thing every time. "Thank you for trying to bury me. You had no idea I was a seed." Last month, on a snowy Chicago evening, Elena hosted the annual Vasquez Visions Foundation Gala. Not the glitzy kind with red carpets and sponsors flexing, but the real kind, held inside the flagship gallery with string lights wrapped around sculptures, tables covered in handmade papel picado, and a menu of tamales, mole, and champurrado cooked by the mamas and abuelas of the scholarship kids. Every ticket sold was pay what you can, and every dollar went straight back into the program. The room was packed wall to wall with current students, alumni, mentors, donors, and families who'd never set foot in a gallery before, but now felt like they belonged. Elena didn't take the stage alone this time. She brought up Marisol, the girl who once thought art wasn't for her, and handed her the mic. At 25 now, she's a working muralist with commissions from the city, Nike, even a museum in Mexico City. She looked out at the crowd, voice steady but eyes shining, and said, "5 years ago, I was ready to drop out and work retail forever. Miss Elena didn't just give me supplies and studio space. She gave me proof that someone who looks like me, talks like me, comes from where I come from, can build something this big. She showed me that betrayal doesn't get the last word. Love does. Community does. Art does. And that's why, this year, Elena made one more big move. She partnered with a media company to turn her story into a scripted limited series. Think Sweet Bitter meets The Big Short, but with paint instead of food and finance. Centered on a Latina artist building an empire in a world that wants to underestimate her. Casting is happening now. They're looking for a lead who can carry both fierce intelligence and deep vulnerability. Elena's only condition? The show has to highlight financial literacy for women, asset protection, recognizing emotional abuse, the real stuff, not just the drama. She wants the credits to roll with resources, hotline numbers, free legal clinics, links to organizations that help women start businesses. Because entertainment is great, but empowerment is everything. Filming starts next summer, and yes, she's executive producing. Of course she is.
As for Elena herself, life these days is full in the best way. Mornings with Javier making breakfast while Frida begs for scraps, afternoons in the studio mentoring the next cohort, evenings walking the lakefront path talking about everything and nothing. She still paints for herself. No social media posts, no sales. Just pure expression in a private studio above the flagship. Her latest series is called After the Fire. Massive canvases of charred earth exploding into impossible blooms, layers of ash and gold leaf and vibrant magenta. Critics who've seen previews are already calling it her most powerful work yet. The first show opens next spring, the same weekend as her wedding. She jokes that it's her way of ensuring the universe knows she's committed to beauty in all forms. And on quiet nights, when the city is asleep and the gallery lights are off, Elena sometimes stands in the main hall alone, surrounded by the art of people she believed in where no one else did. She thinks about that folding table in the flea market rain, about the text that tried to break her, about the woman she became because she refused to break. She whispers the same thing every time. "Thank you for trying to bury me. You had no idea I was a seed." Sales. Just pure expression in a private studio above the flagship. Her latest series is called After the Fire. Massive canvases of charred earth exploding into impossible blooms, layers of ash and gold leaf and vibrant magenta. Critics who've seen previews are already calling it her most powerful work yet. The first show opens next spring, the same weekend as her wedding. She jokes that it's her way of ensuring the universe knows she's committed to beauty in all forms. And on quiet nights, when the city is asleep and the gallery lights are off, Elena sometimes stands in the main hall alone, surrounded by the art of people she believed in where no one else did. She thinks about that folding table in the flea market rain, about the text that tried to break her, about the woman she became because she refused to break. She whispers the same thing every time. "Thank you for trying to bury me. You had no idea I was a seed." Last month, on a snowy Chicago evening, Elena hosted the annual Vasquez Visions Foundation Gala. Not the glitzy kind with red carpets and sponsors flexing, but the real kind, held inside the flagship gallery with string lights wrapped around sculptures, tables covered in handmade papel picado, and a menu of tamales, mole, and champurrado cooked by the mamas and abuelas of the scholarship kids. Every ticket sold was pay what you can, and every dollar went straight back into the program. The room was packed wall to wall with current students, alumni, mentors, donors, and families who'd never set foot in a gallery before, but now felt like they belonged. Elena didn't take the stage alone this time. She brought up Marisol, the girl who once thought art wasn't for her, and handed her the mic. At 25 now, Marisol is a working muralist with commissions from the city, Nike, even a museum in Mexico City. She looked out at the crowd, voice steady but eyes shining, and said, "5 years ago, I was ready to drop out and work retail forever. Miss Elena didn't just give me supplies and studio space, she gave me proof that someone who looks like me, talks like me, comes from where I come from, can build something this big. She showed me that betrayal doesn't get the last word. Love does. Community does. Art does. And tonight I get to tell every kid in this room, your story isn't over when someone tries to erase you. It's just beginning." The place erupted, people standing on chairs, whistling, crying, hugging strangers. Elena stood off to the side, Javier's arm around her waist, watching it all with the quiet smile of someone who knows the seed she planted in pain has become a forest. Later that night, after the last guest left and the lights dimmed, Elena walked through the empty gallery one more time. She stopped in front of a new piece that had just been installed, a massive collaborative canvas started by the very first foundation cohort and added to by every class since. Hundreds of hands, thousands of brushstrokes, one continuous explosion of color and story. In the center, someone had painted a single sunflower breaking through concrete. Underneath, in small, careful letters, "For Elena, who taught us how to grow through the cracks." She traced the petals with her fingertip, whispered "thank you" to the quiet room, and turned off the lights. Outside, snow was falling soft and steady, covering the city in a fresh layer, like forgiveness, like possibility, like starting over without having to erase what came before. And that's the truest ending there is, not a courtroom win or a sold-out show or even a beautiful new love, but this, a woman who took the worst moment of her life and alchemized it into safety and opportunity and belonging for hundreds of others. A woman who proved that success isn't the sweetest revenge, impact is. Lifting others while you rise is. Living so fully in your purpose that the people who hurt you become footnotes in a story that's infinitely bigger than them. So wherever you are right now, whether you're in the betrayal stage, the building stage, the blooming stage, or just the "I'm tired but I'm still here" stage, remember Elena when doubt creeps in. Remember that folding table in the rain. Remember the text that tried to diminish her. Remember the gallery lights glowing on a snowy night full of people who now know they matter because she decided she did. You matter too. Your dreams matter. Your protection matters. Your healing matters. Your legacy matters. And one day, someone will stand in a room you helped create, maybe literally, maybe metaphorically, and say your name with gratitude because you refused to let pain have the final say.